So just last week, Motorola launched what I reckon could be its best smartphone of 2020. And I'm not talking about the Edge flagship or the Edge Plus or anything. I'm talking about the Moto G 5G Plus. And this blower costs just 300 quid here in the UK, and yet it offers strong all-round specs and features, including a good bit of 5G future-proofing as well for those who want it. And even if you couldn't give two shiny stuffs about 5G right now, the rest of the specs frankly make it a very drill-worthy prospect indeed. So let's yank the Moto G 5G Plus on out of its box, take a full-on tour of the hardware and the software so you know exactly what to expect ahead of my in-depth review. And for more on the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! But quickly first, I've just got to give props to the actual box that the Moto G 5G Plus arrived in. And Motorola for some reason sent it in this absolute beast of a locker box. And apparently the Moto G 5G Plus will also come with its own funky range of sockwear as well. Very cool. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys. Certainly an unusual package, so to speak. But now of course on to the most interesting part of the entire package, and that is the Moto G 5G Plus itself. And there is the wee beauty stuck away at the top. I'll just put that aside for now, see what else we get in the box. Usual boring bit of literature and your pokey pin device to get your SIM card inside that there tray. 3-pin adapter with hilarious pop-up action. And of course your bit of Type-C USB cable action too. And of course the Moto G 5G Plus, as with all Motorola phones, comes pre-clad in a very nifty condom case just to help keep it protected from the elements. No, actually not so much the elements, it's more just you being a bit cack-handed / inebriated enough to drop the bloody thing on concrete. But anyhow, let's prise off that prophylactic case and check out the Moto G 5G Plus in all of its raw naked glory. So far, I've got to say, quite liking the budget-friendly design here on the Moto G 5G Plus as well. This is apparently the surfing blue colour option, very gnarly. Once you get in really close as well, have a bit of a squint at that surface, you'll see it's got a bit of a microdot style design as well. It's not just a plain surface. You've got a glossy back here, which I'm pretty sure is just plastic. They didn't specify glass, certainly in the official specs. And then you've got a nice bit of matte banding around the edge as well, just to break up the glossy finish. You've got your square camera housing as well, which is becoming very fashionable in 2020. Certainly a lot of phones rocking that. You've got your edge mounted fingerprint sensor. Sadly, no pre-installed screen protector here on the Moto G 5G Plus though, so you want to slap your own on if you want to keep that display in tip-top condition. And apparently the Moto G 5G Plus is water repellent as well, so it'll be fine if you accidentally splash a bit of your beer on it, but don't go dropping it in your actual pint. But anywho, let's see if we've got any juice in the tank. Yes, we do. Lovely stuff. Oh, digging the funky logo as well. Very nice. So going to get it all set up now and then take you on a full tour of the hardware and the software. Whoa, man, that's really psychedelic. Hello. As for the SIM setup, well, it's a dual SIM device, the Moto G 5G Plus, although that second SIM also doubles as a micro SD memory card to boost the 64 gigs of onboard storage. So you're going to have to choose dual SIM or micro SD. So here we have it, the Moto G 5G Plus is all set up and ready for action. And of course, as usual with Motorola smartphones, what you've got is a lovely, clean, stock version of Android 10. Very little tinkering done by Motorola itself. All those great Android 10 features like a dark mode and of course full swipe gesture navigations are present and correct. But Motorola has made a couple of little tweaks here and there as well, including of course adding on its Motorola Experiences app, which it always slaps on there. And that just adds basically a whole bunch of gesture controls and some other tools and features that are actually pretty nifty. As usual, of course, you can fully personalize your Motorola handset, and you do have a good bit of theming as well. If you just long press on the main desktop, go to styles, you can actually change up the fonts, the icon design, all that kind of shenanigans. And yeah, sure, it's fairly basic compared with some Android launchers out there, but you know what? It's absolutely fine. If you just want to tweak a couple of little elements to suit your own particular taste without going absolutely nuts. One of the best additions is, of course, Motorola Actions as usual, and what this allows you to do is basically get the torch on the back by doing a quick karate chop. You can activate the camera with a quick double wrist twist. And you've also got lift to unlock support as well, which is great when combined with the face unlock feature here on the Moto G 5G Plus. So as well as that edge mounting sensor, you can simply raise up the phone, it'll scan for your mug, and boom, straight in. And one of the more interesting new features here on the Moto Experiences app as well is the Moto Game Time tool. And what this can basically do is block notifications, help manage your resources, and keep you fully focused on that game, bit of PubG, bit of Call of Duty, whatever you fancy. You also have a dedicated assistant key here on the side of the Moto G 5G Plus as well. A quick tap of that will load up the assistant, as if there aren't already enough ways of getting the bloody thing to listen into you. So as well as voice activation, you can of course just swipe across here. You've got a little mic button there you can tap. There's all kinds of different ways of getting the bloody thing activated, but you got that button too. And as far as I can tell, there's no way of actually deactivating that button or remapping it to something else, certainly via the stock settings and everything. I might be missing it though. I'll keep on scouting around, see if I can find something. And of course, like most just budget smartphones these days, the Moto G 5G Plus also packs a good bit of NFC support and dual band Wi-Fi too. Now you've got to love the display on this thing as well. It's a very spacious 6.7-inch panel, absolutely enormous, just like the Motorola Edge flagship, although here it's an IPS instead of an OLED, which is pretty common around the £300 price point. It's a full HD plus panel, so certainly those visuals look nice and crisp to my knackered old eyes anyway, and you've got HDR10 support on there for supported content as well, so you'll get that nice deep contrast, those natural looking colours. And so far it's pretty standard for a £300 smartphone display, but what you get here is what Motorola is terming a cinema vision display as well. That means it's got a stretched 21:9 aspect ratio, nice widescreen action, so really good for the latest blockbusters. Means you get no letterboxing whatsoever. So that's the same finish as you'll get on Sony's recent Xperia handsets, like the likes of the Xperia 10 Mark II, which comes in a little bit more expensive than this Moto blower. Do bear in mind though the limitations of the 21:9 display, and that is basically that if you're watching older content, like for instance a nice bit of Red Dwarf in your spare time, well, you'll get some big ass pillar boxing down the left and the right sides. So yeah, the actual screen itself will just be this dinky little squashed effort in the middle. And yeah, you do have a dual selfie cut-all, pin-out, whatever you want to call it, down here in the bottom corner, so my brain is melting out of my ears, so I can't say words anymore. But yes, it slightly intrudes on the screen, but not too much. At least it's nudged away there in the corner, and it's not one of those big fat dual selfie cutouts that you sometimes get. And if we have a little dive on into the display settings here on the Moto G 5G Plus as well, you'll find more good news in the refresh rate section. As you can see, this is set to auto right now, but you can actually bump it up to full on 90 Hz action full time if you like. Otherwise you can just leave it to the phone itself to bump it up to 90 Hz where appropriate. And certainly when you've got it on that 90 Hz mode, oh my god, it's lovely and silky smooth. I absolutely adore it. On the audio front, it's not quite as sexy, certainly as far as the speakers are concerned. It's just a single bottom firing mono speaker, so you don't get any stereo speakers set up on this bad boy. But let's just bump up the sound. Chipset and a 120 Hz display. That doesn't just sound mental, it sounds far too good to be true. But so as long as you don't muffle that speaker, it certainly seems pretty powerful on that top volume. Clarity isn't bad at all. It'll certainly do the job for just watching a video without a pair of headphones connected. But if you do want to hook up some headphones, you do have a dedicated headphone jack down below, and you got full Bluetooth 5.1 support as well. It's kind of a shame you don't get that stereo speaker setup, because you do on the likes of the Moto G8 Plus, which is a little bit cheaper. And I'm not seeing any support for any Dolby action here in the audio settings either, which again is something that you find on some other Motorola handsets, so a bit of a shame to see it missing in action. In terms of the performance, what you got packed inside this bad boy is the Snapdragon 765 chipset. So it's an obvious step down from the 865 flagship platform, but it still provides really strong performance. You know, you're tapping up, it basically loads straight up. There will be a little bit of background culling going on and stuff like that, but on the whole, nice and nippy so far. I did run a bit of Geekbench for you lovely people as well, if there's any benchmarking nerds out there who fancy a bit of number crunching and all that kind of stuff. So certainly from those numbers, seems to be holding up very nicely. Should be able to play the latest games like Call of Duty, PubG Mobile, stuff like that. Absolutely no problem at all. At this sort of price point, it's only really beaten by the Realme X50 5G, which only just came out. I've done a full unboxing of that bad boy as well. And that's got the 765G, which has got a slight boost to the Adreno GPU. You've got a choice of 4 or 6 gigs of RAM. Even the 4GB model should be able to blaze through everyday tasks, no worries whatsoever. And of course, one of the benefits of that Snapdragon 765 is the fact that you've got integrated 5G in there as well. So you've got that future-proof connectivity if you need it, if you happen to live somewhere that has a bit of 5G action on the go. And it doesn't disappoint on the battery life either, or at least it certainly shouldn't. I will of course be delivering my full verdict on that for my in-depth Moto G 5G Plus review, but it's got a 5000 milliamp cell stuffed in there, so it should keep you going all day long, no worries, no matter what you punish this thing with, and probably well into a second day too. Although admittedly the 20 watt fast charging, or turbo charging as Motorola terms it, isn't particularly sexy. It is beaten by a lot of rivals, but you know what, you shouldn't be hanging around too long waiting for a full charge. So last up, let's have a squint at that very square quad lens rear camera. And what you've got here is a 48 megapixel primary lens, although as with most Motorola handset, it uses a good bit of pixel binning action, so what you actually get is 12 megapixel pictures when you hit that shutter button. And if you prefer a bit of ultra wide angle action instead, you can swap to the 8 megapixel ultra wide lens with a quick tap down here, or at least you should be able to. except it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Okay, bit of a boo-boo there. Okay, quick restart later, and now the ultra-wide angle lens is working fine, so it's just a funny little setup glitch or something. Absolutely good. So as you can see there, 8 megapixel ultra-wide angle lens gives you a nice broad view of your subject, particularly handy if you're trying to shoot a massive off building, a landscape, something like that. What you do also have is a dedicated 5 megapixel macro lens if you are into your macro shots. Getting mega close on Stitch's fuzzy little nose there. And you've also got a 2 megapixel depth sensor finishing off at the quad lens arrangement, and that can just be used for your portrait mode shots, just to keep your subject crisp while keeping the background all blurred out with a lovely bokeh style effect. As you can see there, you can raise the intensity of the bokeh, although that seems about it as far as the portrait mode controls go. And you've got all the other usual Motorola bonus camera modes on there as well. Got a bit of spot color action, bit of night vision, which is good to see. So that just takes several different exposure shots, melds them together for brighter, more balanced results. And of course, you can shoot a good bit of video as well, up to 4K resolution. It is set to full HD by default, but as you can see, you can bump it up to 4K and even 4K 21:9 if you want that lovely cinema vision finish. And you got the ultra steady smarts and everything on there too. And then of course, if you are a selfie fan, you do of course have that dual selfie camera arrangement up front. You got a 16 megapixel primary lens, which is active by default, or you can swap to an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle, hopefully. Yes, okay. It's a bit happier with that compared with the back end one. I am looking rather fresh faced and rather young and spry in this though. Unfortunately, that's because they've got the beauty mode on. Let's just turn that off, and there we go. There's all the wrinkles and sags and bags that I know and despise. And I really like that you can tell which lens you're supposed to actually be staring at by the fact that it actually glows when it's active as well. So this is the standard lens, and then this is the ultra wide angle lens. As you can see there, the little glowing ring changes places. And frankly, just call me the king of selfies, because that is yet another beauty right there. Anyway, I will be fully testing out that camera tech for my in-depth Moto G 5G Plus review, so stay tuned for that bad boy. Should be coming soon. I'm going to review the Realme X50 5G first, and I'm going to be comparing those two directly as well to see which one might be best for you, because for 300 quid, those are two hot phones right there. And please do let me know what you think of the Moto G 5G Plus so far down in the comments below. Plug subscribe, ding that notifications bell, do all that good YouTube stuff, and have yourselves a lovely day, people. Cheers, everyone. Love you.